Okay, I think I'm recording. Okay, hi everybody. Tonight we're going to talk about the Sunrider products and the basic products, and maybe if we have time, we'll talk about some of the other products to have some fun with. The biggest thing I found over the years is that we can talk product all we want, but until we sell someone on the quality of Sunrider, you never really know for sure if they get it or not. And so some people don't care about the details. It'd be like buying a new car and you're telling them all about the fuel injection and the fuel pump and all the things. And some people are like, oh my God, I so don't care about that. I just want to know if it's safe and it's going to get me there. Well, sometimes we need to talk about the quality and how things are made for you to understand that it's not just like any product that you come across in the health food store. So let's talk a little bit about the background. The background of Sunrider, where it comes from, is from 5,000 years of Chinese research with foods. And so, if we went right back, before the time of Christ, they called it the Golden Era. And that's where the Chinese had experimented with roughly 40,000 plants. Imagine that. And then they separated them into food plants, medicinal plants, and poisonous plants. And they didn't want to use the poisonous plants and they didn't want to use the medicinal plants. They wanted to use the food so they could actually nourish the body and keep it working as well as possible for as long as possible. And so that's how it all started. And, that acupuncture actually came from a time when, from this time when they'd actually cut the body open to find out how these different herbs would stimulate different organs and they could naturally kill the pain while they were doing this. So you wouldn't want to be one of the people who got experimented on, but we all get the benefit of it today. And so that's what they did. And they learned to remove parts of herbs, like you peel a banana before you eat it, obviously. But it goes way more in depth on that they would take herbs, remove parts, soak them in the teas of other plants. Some would be heated, some would do this, some would that, and to come up with the perfect way of treating a herb. And then it's combined with a group of other herbs that have all been treated in a certain way. And then they're combined together. And so this is the way Chen explained it, is they actually put these formulas together so they could direct it and guide it right into a system, and then specifically nourish that system with some of the herbs in that formula. So they all had a job to do, like part of a team. So they could nourish your digestive system and they could nourish your circulatory system. And you may be wondering, well, so what? Well, if you cut your hand, you automatically assume it's going to heal. But we think, well, if there's something wrong with my liver, I need to go to the doctor and go on medication for the rest of my life. But the Chinese were clear that you could create an environment in the body where it could heal itself. And this was a really important principle from that time. And then about the time of Christ, from the way the story goes, is that the different provinces or states in China, the wall was built and they started fighting over each other's secrets and land and whatnot. And so then the use of herbs went into more medicinal for uses to kill infection and things like that. And this old philosophy of regeneration was kind of set aside to the newer, more high-tech way of health. But of course, many people wanted to hang on to this ancient tradition that they had. So Dr. Chen's grandfather came across many of these manuscripts from this golden era, and he was teaching Dr. Chen about it as a youth. And so Dr. Chen was infatuated by these manuscripts and by herbs. And so Dr. Chen, I've heard it's roughly 4,000 plants that he can stick in his mouth and tell you what it is. Like, so Dr. Chen's not just some guy that's got the knowledge of maybe 100 herbs or so. He's got the working knowledge of thousands of plants. And Chen takes food very seriously. So we'd be in a board meeting and they'd bring in some exotic fish or something, and then Chen would get up and he would show us different parts of this cooked fish, and this part's an aphrodisiac, and this part is this and that. It was just, he's infatuated by food. And then they would take this fish away and they'd cook it, and then they'd bring it back and they'd serve different parts of it and stuff. So like Chen is really into food. And so that's kind of the history of Sunrider. So Dr. Chen takes these formulations and he makes this decision. They immigrate to North America in the mid-70s, and he decides that he wants to sell herbal foods to white people. And of course, his dad laughed at him, Chinese guys selling herbs to white people. That's ridiculous. But he was very clear that white people needed it, that North America needed to improve their nutrition. And he wanted to make these foods such high quality that he would never have to apologize for an inferior product. And so how do you do that, right? So he's got these manuscripts, he knows how to prepare these herbs, and now it's a way to prepare them so you can get people to really get the benefit from them. So herbs are really hard to digest. You can't just start eating herbs. It's easy just to grind them up and stick them in a capsule, but we wouldn't really be able to assimilate them. And so Dr. Chen has this process where he of course treats all the plants in the way they needed to be treated, and then they grind down 10% of the formula. They juice the rest, and so they soak it, and then they extract the juice, and then they take all the juice or the water out, so that you have a syrup. So you have this really dense juice, and then they spray that on top of the powder that they had ground down in the beginning. And I always like to use this company profile, and everybody doesn't use this as much as they should. And it shows all the manufacturing and the steps that they go through to do all this process that I just finished talking about. And it's really impressive. When you sit down to talk to someone about Sunrider, if you want them to have faith in what you're saying, just show them the company profile. So that's how they make every food we have. They're very concentrated. So people always ask that, some of our products have got, labels, warning labels, if you have high blood pressure, don't take this and this and that. Well, for decades, we never had any of those warnings. And the United States doesn't have any of those warnings. It's a Health Canada issue. And the foods are so well put together. So in other words, if you maybe have an issue with licorice root, the licorice root has been soaked in the plants of teas of other plants, and parts of it been removed, and then it's combined with all these other plants. So it's just part of a team. And when people use the Sunrider foods, even though they may think, oh, I may have a problem with that, they never have a problem with that. So it doesn't matter what medication you're on, you can always use the Sunrider foods. And I have almost 30 years of experience behind me that I've never come across anything that they couldn't use. Of course, they should always ask the doctor before they start, but in the end, they're always great. And it's like our foods don't have egg in them, and they don't have wheat in them, and they don't have dairy in them, and they don't have all those. It's just pure foods. And the Chinese are pretty smart. They didn't just, it's not like chop suey, everything goes in there. They knew what they were doing. So before I talk a little bit about some of the individual foods, did any of you guys have any comments? Barb?
Well, Jim, I just want to say it's amazing. Keep going. I'm just listening to every word you say. Go. Very amazing. Wow.
Good. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Dina. Hi. And Jim, for me, when I was first introduced to Sunrider, that is what really sold me on it. Before I ever even tried the foods, was just understanding the whole concept, regeneration. I totally believe my body had the ability to heal itself. Totally believe that. I knew my body needed whole foods, not isolates. So it was that whole concept, and I think that's the biggest thing. Sharing Sunrider with people is, if they understand that concept, they will love the products and they will get the amazing benefits from it. So that's just really, really important. And for me, that was, and then I started understanding more about the ancient Chinese and how the different, plants put together work synergistically together and in harmony. And it just made so much sense to me. And it was lifelong for me.
So as we use the products, that's the only way people get that faith, right? And they start realizing that if Chen says it, or he brings out a product, it's the highest quality possible. I'm going to, you have noise coming from somewhere. There we go. So, you know, and we were talking, so Barb, you mentioned this regeneration word. So let's just talk about this. Now, most people, you know, they have different ideas of what health means. And health to some might be taking a few vitamin pills. It might be taking a orange juice in the morning or a low-fat muffin over a regular muffin. But health, as far as the ancient Chinese is there's three principles to it. Number one, the body can heal itself of almost anything if you give it the right raw materials. And number two, the raw materials need to come from whole foods. Your body can't regenerate itself from a vitamin pill. And the third principle, and I'll add to this, is that wide varieties and large amounts of whole foods every day. So you think of a quinine, which we're going to talk about right away. There's 43 different plants in there. And quinine, which means like quintuplets, 5. There's 5 formulas consisting of 43 plants that nourish your 5 systems. That's a major meal. And, you know, Nuplus, which we're going to talk about, is 15 different plants. And like when I started Sunrider, I was in Saskatchewan, and I would ask people, so how many fruits and vegetables do you eat every day on average? And it was 3 or less. And in BC here, it's 5 to 7 or less. And so one Sunrider meal, you sit down, it's like 45 plants or 60 plants, Nuplus and quinine together. Like that, you can do something with it. So the 3 principles of regeneration is the body can heal itself of almost anything if you give it the right raw materials. Number 2, raw materials must come from whole foods and wide varieties and large combinations. And number 3 is that you got to be willing to take responsibility for your health. Now, back in ancient China, they didn't have to teach anybody that they had to take responsibility. They just knew that if they ate the right foods and whatnot, they would do well. Today, everybody's got all these issues. Well, when I grew up, we always had bread and dairy and cheese and pop and dessert and, you know, whatever their thing is. And people fight that. It's like you're trying to change their religion or something. It's like crazy to me how stubborn people can be about their diet, their food. And we'll talk a little bit about that more as we go too. So anyways, we're talking about the body can heal itself. And when Dr. Chen creates these formulas, you have to understand that he makes every one of the extracts. If he feels he needs to preserve it somehow, he creates that preservative out of that formula. So Evergreen, which is a really concentrated chlorophyll product we have, it's extracted from the plants. It's in a liquid, guaranteed it's going to go rancid. So unless you pasteurize that, so in other words, you heat it to the point where you kill all the enzymes, that's the only way you can preserve it, or you add a preservative to it. So Chen says, well, you can't do that because it has to stay in its whole food form and its live food form. So he says he got his little chemistry set out one day when this is a brand new product, and he showed how he turned it into oil-soluble nutrients. So it preserves it automatically, and then as soon as it hits your stomach acid, it turns it into water-soluble, and it's utilized in the body just as it was freshly extracted. So he has all these little secrets that he works on to make sure these foods are the absolute best. And even in skincare, I'm going to touch on that. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but they do the research. And so they did all this research on different skincare lines that use different preservatives. And some companies say, oh, we don't use any preservatives. But if you don't preserve a skincare, you'll have bacteria on your face. And so they did all these tests to see all this bacteria that were on people's faces. And it was crazy. And so you have to preserve skincare. And so they wound up using an extract that they made themselves, which they had to call a paraben. Now, some people think, oh, parabens, they cause cancer. Well, really, it's a whole bunch of people that have no facts. And so the tiny, tiny amount that they actually had to use to preserve it was like a 1,000th the amount that the research showed that did cause cancer, which later then was shown that research was false. But so many people talk about it as if they're experts on it, people that are not chemists. So for that reason, the Chins finally said, you know what, we're a little tired of this, even though we know what we're doing. We just wish people would trust us with all the research we do, but they're actually changing that, and they're using a different preservative that they've extracted themselves from a whole food to make it. But that is their commitment to quality. So whatever you use in Sunrider, you can guarantee that it is safe to use. So let's talk about Cali and Fortune Delight. And I want some input here from some of you gals, and Trudy, I called you earlier. Cali and Fortune are two foods that you can drink every day. And people think, oh, so it's something that's going to force my body to cleanse. So I guess I'll drink it in the spring and I'll drink it in the fall, and that's when we should do a cleanse. But no, these are foods that actually strengthen your body's ability to cleanse itself. And when it does that, it's like showering on the inside. And have you, any of you guys showered on the inside lately?
Every day. Today I started my day with Cali tea. Absolutely love it. I call it my cup of mental clarity first thing in the morning, that's for sure. And then I drank Fortune Delight all day, and now I'm back to drinking Cali again. And I really think that our body needs to cleanse every single day. So it's not something that you just do, like you said, a couple times a year. We've got cells in our body that are carrying around toxins that constantly need to be flushed and cleaned. And that's what the Cali and the Fortune Delight are so good with. They go in and nourish the cleansing cells of your body. So they're not forcing your body to cleanse. It's nourishing the cleansing cells of your body. And it's very effective. They're quite interchangeable. Fortune Delight, I always find, works a little bit better for flushing fat, cleaning the fat in your body so that you can use that fat for fuel storage. Our fats are fuel storage, but when it's nice and clean, we actually burn it for fuel. And I used to be very fat, and a lot of that, about more than 50 pounds of it is gone. And so I love the Fortune Delight for that.
And then what happened when you're out visiting all your grandchildren at Christmas time?
Oh my gosh, they were like Hoovers. We had to go to the Sunrider office every week. We had enough foods with us for a month, and we had to go back every week and load up. They just ate everything. They ate the Fortune Delight, the Cali, the Sun Bars, the New Plus, everything. They couldn't get enough of it. And since we're gone, Eva told her mother, she said, I really need that, Mom. She said, I'm just desperate for it. So her mom had to place an order.
So children love Sunrider, right? And pregnant moms love Sunrider. Everybody loves the Cali and the Fortune Delight and the different foods, and they're so safe. And it's amazing how one person can start with some Fortune Delight, and we always sell a sun care with Fortune or Cali. We get clear on that it doubles the benefits. But there's just so many benefits just from making that one little switch in your diet.
Jim, can I talk about the Cali? Because Trudy introduced me to the Cali, and I got off 8 cups of coffee a day. In 3 days, I got off all coffee except my morning cup.
Yeah, you figured. I remember that.
Yes, without any withdrawal. And I'd been trying for years to cut it out, but I'd get a migraine headache and I'd feel terrible. So I had to have my coffee. And so I was having still the 1 cup in the morning. And then Jim told me that takes 24 hours for your liver to detox, and I wasn't getting all the results that I should have been. And so then I started my day with Cali, and that's 20 years ago, and I haven't had coffee since, and I haven't needed it. I've got lots of energy. So it's fantastic for getting off coffee.
So have you guys, anybody can jump in here, drank like other herbal teas and ever had the satisfaction that you get from Cali or Fortune?
Never.
Like I've traveled the world and I drink tea everywhere just to experiment with, and it's just like you end up getting heartburn and whatnot because a lot of teas have got caffeine in them, green teas, and caffeine, we can talk about that another time, but overall caffeine is hard on digestion, and it creates anxiety and lots of things which I don't get, but I try to avoid caffeine because I feel so much better without it. But Cali and Fortune Delight helps so much in digestion too. Okay, now there's different flavors. What's your favorite flavor?
Had to unmute myself here. I'm very, very generic. I love them all, but my absolute favorite for Fortune Delight is just the regular, and the Cali is the Cali original. Occasionally throw in a Cali mint.
Okay.
That's what I have, yeah.
And my favorite Cali is cinnamon.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that one. Okay, so now let's. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I said cinnamon is my favorite also.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Okay, now how about New Plus? So now Trudy, when Trudy started in Sunrider, she was very ill, and she started with a little bit of Quinary and a little bit of New Plus, and it didn't take very long, and she was eating like 7 packs a day or something of New Plus. You want to talk about that?
I couldn't get enough New Plus. It was like the only food that I seemed to be able to digest. I was having a very great struggle with my digestive system. And New Plus would go in and it would just, my body would just purr. It would just be like, oh, you know, I had no trouble digesting it. I had no trouble assimilating it. And my absolute favorite was Simply Herbs. And to this day, it's 20 plus years later, I'm still having Simply Herbs every single day, several packages every single day. That's my food. It's wonderful.
I've never ever experienced a food that gives you such a feeling as New Plus, and especially Simply Herbs.
And I mean, it does say to mix it into water or juice or whatever favorite beverage you have, your Fortune Delight or whatever. But to this day, I'll eat it right out of the package. Like I just chew it, right? But my favorite is to just mix it in with the Cali tea and some sun care.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I just put it in my mouth.
Yeah, you do that too. So New Plus is like, we roughly say that it's a pound of organic fruits, vegetables, and grains and beans that are pre-digested. So remember, everything is juiced and really easy to digest. And one of the problems with health is that people are not assimilating what they're eating. So we talked about wide varieties and combinations of foods that should be in your diet, which isn't. And then also it's how you can assimilate that food. Now, what about VitaShake? How many people here use VitaShake? Trudy's got her hand up. Diana's got her hand up. Barb? Okay, does anybody want to talk about it?
Okay, I will. I'm really surprised at myself because I used to always have the Simply Herbs New Plus, and then we got the VitaShake in about 2 years ago. We didn't have it in Canada, even though it had been in the States. And at first I was not sure if I liked it. Now I'm addicted. I'm having 2 VitaShake a day. Because I don't feel hungry for anything else. Like I just have that in the morning with my Quinary and my Cali and some sun care. And it's noon before I'm hungry, and I've got tons of energy. I do my Aquafit class or whatever I'm going to do that morning. And it's just so convenient, and I love it. So it combines the New Plus along with multiple vitamins and fiber and acidophilus and everything that you need. So
That's right. So the vitamins obviously would be in a whole food form, just to clarify that.
mm-hmm.
So in VitaShake is 25 grams. It's a little heavier than New Plus. New Plus is 15 grams. And that's why it makes you more satisfied. And it's 90 grams of 90 calories, I should say, 95 calories versus 60 calories for a New Plus. It's just a little heavier.
Can you hold it up?
Yeah. And overall, I think that if your digestion was really weak or you had lots of illness, that you might feel a little better with just New Plus. It's just so pure, where VitaShake is a little bit more racy, but very, very much a whole food, right? Now, Trudy, you put your hand up there. Did you have a comment?
I just absolutely love the chocolate. If anybody likes a nice hot chocolate, make yourself a pot of hot Fortune Delight or hot Cali in your coffee maker, right? I use my Cali maker. And add in a package of chocolate VitaShake with a good squirt of the stevia in it, the sun care or the sun nectar. Oh my gosh, is that ever delicious?
I know you've talked about that before. So you
The mint Kelly is good with the chocolate VitaShake.
Oh yes.
That sounds great.
Oh, isn't it great having all these seasoned Sunriders on here that are experimenting always? Now, what about sun bars? Who would like to talk about that? Which one's your favorite?
I eat them every single morning for my breakfast. A big mug of Cali regular with raspberry fortune in there and my chocolate sun bars. So 1 or 2 of them every morning for my breakfast. Take it to town with me when I go. Just the most convenient, tasty food. My grandson, I buy the boxes for him.
My cookie maker, or my cookie jar, is actually filled with sun bars, and Wesley will come over and take 2 or 3 to go when he's there.
So sun bars are 120 calories, and I think 2 is considered a meal replacement. So there's enough calories there for a meal replacement. They're very nutritious. Like when you go buy bars, have you guys tried to buy like bars from the grocery store or from what's in them? It's sugar and wheat and garbage, honestly.
And isolated soy.
Isolated soya. So they make it sound like there's all this protein in there, but isolated soya, I don't think it's even digestible, is it?
No.
I think most of it just goes right through. They can call it protein, but it's the nutrients has been extracted from it already.
I think that's a really good subject, but it takes a lot of time. But just the fact that our soy has started the sprouting process, more or less, it's totally assimilable by the body. So even people that are told by their doctors not to use soy can use the Sunrider products, because it's not the soy that you get in the soy milk and all the other isolated soy.
That's right. And it's been fermented as well.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so sun bars make a really great snack. It's like whenever I travel, whether I'm going abroad or I'm just driving to Kamloops or something, I've got my little leather case with some Fortune Delight, Cali, Sun Care, a couple of sun bars, and some raw almonds. I could make it through anything if I have that with me.
We should tell people, Jim, that there's a lot of fiber in the bars, and it's 7 different kinds of fiber, which is all. You can only get 7 kinds of fiber from food, like 7 major kinds, and it's all included in the sun bar. And it's you get a very big return for a little investment.
Yeah. Smooth move. Yeah, I know.
Great. That's great. And also it's non-GMO. Any soy is non-GMO, which is really rare these days.
That's right. So there's 2 flavors of sun bars. In Canada, we have the fruit and the chocolate. And the US has oatmeal, raisin oatmeal, which is really great. Okay, so we've talked about some cleansing foods, and we've talked about some nourishing foods. Now let's talk a little bit about sun care and Sun Care Plus. So who would like to tackle that?
It's a great product to help balance the blood sugar, and blood sugar is so key to so many different conditions, and it's an easy way to help keep the blood sugar in control. Mm-hmm. And if you're diabetic, we found with Doug, it tends to lower his need for as much insulin as well. And when you start somebody new on it that's diabetic, especially children that are on insulin, you have to caution them to keep an eye on their blood sugar, because it can lower it down as they're using more sun care. But it's a great product.
Because then they wind up, if their pancreas started to work, then they would have too much insulin because they're injecting insulin, plus that their pancreas produced insulin. So the sun care can actually help the pancreas work better. Now, the longer someone has been insulin dependent, that wouldn't be the case, but it can certainly balance out the blood sugars.
It does, yeah.
And Jim, what I found too for myself, because I was low blood sugar, so I was hypoglycemic when I started. I never have liked a lot of sweets, so I was like, I don't need sun care. But then you and some of the others were telling me you should just put a little bit in every cup of Cali, and so I did. And again, it balanced my blood sugar. So I was on the other side of the diabetic, and my blood sugar is totally balanced, and I do not struggle with that anymore at all.
Yeah. I think a lot of people probably suffer from hypoglycemia to some degree. And sun care, when you have a few drops, it gives you like 4 hours of blood sugar. It's such a wonderful thing. You know, when you think of the standard situation, people get up, they have their cup of coffee, there's a teaspoon of sugar in there or more, and the coffee is like a jolt, it's acidic, there's nothing good that comes from that. And plus the sugar that goes with it, and then they may have some fat cream, you know, to go with it, even worse. Versus starting your day off with a cup of Cali with a few drops of sun care, which gives you this beautiful blue curve of blood sugar, like you just ate some beans. It gives you about 4 hours of blood sugar, and it's alkaline. It's no wonder when people start drinking Cali and Fortune, they love it so much.
And I need a little caution here. If you are diabetic and you have low blood sugar and you think, well, you know, sun care is really sweet, so I'll take sun care to elevate my blood sugars, it doesn't work at all. Sun care and Sun Nectar and Sunny Dew in the United States are a complex carbohydrate, not a simple carbohydrate. It's sweet tasting, very sweet tasting, but it is not sugar. It doesn't work like sugar in the body at all.
Yeah, thanks for clarifying that.
If you take it when your blood sugar is low, it tends to hold the blood sugar down there. So, I mean, with Doug being diabetic, he always makes sure he has something that's going to bring his blood sugar up before he takes the sun care, and then the sun care helps stabilize it.
Mm-hmm.
It's also
I think it's important. We didn't mention that this is stevia, and that Dr Chen was the one who brought it to North America, and everybody's using it now. But it used to be that it could only be called skincare, and not, well, Dr. Chen called it skincare because the FDA and Monsanto and whoever else had him take it off the market when he called it True Sweet. That was many years ago, but now we do have it available, and that's why it's so valuable. Other stevias that are on the market have a bitter aftertaste, and they don't have any of the nutritional value, right?
That's right.
It's also antifungal and antibacterial.
That's right. You're right. Thanks, Gail. Yes, it's antifungal and antibacterial.
It's a healer. It'll heal cuts.
It's amazing because it was sold as being able to be used on the skin. I have little kids I take care of, and 2 of them have really bad eczema, and they've been cutting teeth. And so their chins have just been raw to the point of almost bleeding.
Oh.
I started using it on their chins, and their chins have cleared up.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. So it's amazing for skin conditions too.
That's exciting.
If you put it in my tea, and then I'm taking it and putting it on my fingers and rubbing it on their chins, they're like, "What are you doing?" It's like, "Oh no, it's okay. They can have it on their chin. It's good."
You know, and a lot of people are on this call tonight are thinking, and here I thought it was just to sweeten my tea. And it has all these benefits to it. So if we were to summarize, it nourishes the pancreas. It digests slowly, like it is a complex carbohydrate, and it digests slowly, which gives you this beautiful curve of blood sugar that lasts. When you have sugar, honey, fruit, it gives you a quick peak and drops you. So it's very good for balancing your blood sugar, which gives you mental stamina. It makes you alert. It gives you energy, and it helps with cravings. And it's antifungal, so it's really good if you suffer from yeast problems and whatnot. It's just a good benefit there. And plus, it happens to be sweet. So we take it for what it does, and it happens to be sweet. Some people say, "Oh, I don't take sweet things." Well, now you do, because this is really good for your body, and it happens to be sweet.
But don't put it in your bread mix to raise the yeast, because it kills the yeast in your bread.
That's right. So you'll get hockey puck bread.
Yeah.
Okay.
I put it in cinnamon buns. It was good.
Cinnamon buns would be good because, yeah, they're dense. What do you do with the other cinnamon buns?
Mine are fluffy.
Oh, well, it'll kill yeast. Just try it in bread and you'll find out.
You want me to send you some?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, so now the next one is quinine. Who wants to talk about that? Go ahead, someone. Okay, I'm going to start
Well, I'm waiting for someone to say something because I don't know enough about it yet. But
Okay.
the little bit I had of it was shocking.
Tell us about that, Sherry. I'd love for them to hear that story.
Okay. I was introduced to it over the Christmas holidays and decided to give it a go. And I had started menopause really early, like early 30s, and I'd been considered postmenopausal for years and years and years, and wasn't having hot flashes or anything anymore, and thought, okay, my hormones are good. I've gone through all that hormone stuff. I'm done with it. And I started the Quinry, and my hot flashes came back amazingly. And I couldn't understand why they came back. It was bizarre. I literally looked at Brad, who gave it to me, and said, okay, this stuff broke me. Because my hot flashes came back. But along with the hot flashes coming back, I just felt more energetic. I felt better overall. And it felt like I was more balanced in some way internally. And I'm sorry, I'm going to have to say this. I had been, because of being postmenopausal for so long, I had been so dry vaginally. Sorry. Hate to say this, Jim. And I'm not anymore. So I feel like I'm something internally. My hormones are actually balancing. Even though I thought they had been done everything they need to do, something still was out of balance there. And so I actually feel like I'm starting to balance again. So it was very exciting to me, but I don't know a lot about it. So
Thank you for that story, because
For sharing. It's amazing. Thank you.
That's amazing. And how many packages or capsules did you have every day?
I had one a day.
One package.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Fabulous.
when Trudy started on the Quinry, she'd been very sick. She was dying. And I'll let her tell the rest of that story. Do you want to touch on that, Trudy?
Yeah, first time I tried Quinry, I thought, oh, wow, this, I had the capsules. I didn't have the powder. And I took 3 capsules in the morning, and about 15 minutes later, I was so tired, I just had to go lay down. And I was having difficulty sleeping. I would fall asleep, and then I'd be waking up in pain and discomfort, and within about 15 minutes. And so I just didn't have good sleep. And I laid down for a nap at 10 o'clock in the morning and woke up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. 3 hours later, my body was boneless, absolutely, totally relaxed, totally peaceful. I felt so amazing. And I thought, oh my goodness. But of course, you need to function during the day. So I decided maybe I should just eat it before I go to bed at nighttime. And I did that for the first year or so. It would have my Quinry before I would go to bed at nighttime. And I would sleep for 8-10 hours, just zonked, absolutely out. Wake up feeling just amazing, like every muscle relaxed and every bit of my body just so in tune. It was amazing.
And Trudy, you had fibromyalgia and lupus. So this was a pretty serious situation. So Trudy and I, we always laugh about Quinry, and Trudy's always packing around a few packages in her purse. And because the funny thing that if you're tired, eat Quinry. If you're sick, eat Quinry. If you're waking up in the morning, have Quinry. And if you want to sleep at night, have Quinry. If you're stressed, have Quinry, right?
Yeah.
So Quinry is this magical food that balances your body's systems, and it'll give your body what it needs. So that's why I started calling it years ago the Find It, Fix It formula, because whatever's going on in your body, it's going to find it and start helping repair it. It's just amazing food. And people say, well, how much should I have? Well, I think an adult should have a minimum of 4 capsules a day, or a third of a package roughly. But in the perfect world, everybody would have at least a package a day, right? That's 10 capsules worth in a package of powder. How much do you use, Trudy?
I have 2 packets a day. Sometimes I have more, but that seems to be my base. I have a package in the morning, mixed in, just throw it into my Cali and my New Plus in the morning. And so does my husband. And same in the, afternoon or evening. we never miss. And if you're just not feeling 100%, or you know, been around people with a lot of viruses and colds and stuff like that, I'll eat more. That's my base now. When I was ill, when I found out how amazing I felt how my body responded so well with it, is I ate 3 packages a day, and I did that for probably 4 or 5 years. I like to relate it. If you have a challenge in your body, think of it as just like a little fire in your fireplace, right? And so if you throw a bucket of water on it, it'll put the fire out. If you've got a house fire, you better call a fire department to put that fire out. And I had a forest fire raging. I needed a lot more to get that fire out and to get my body balanced. And so depending on what you have, I always recommend them. Do you have a little campfire, or do you have a house fire, or do you have a forest fire? Perfect. And it's food. You're going to nourish your 5 main systems with it. So eat what you need.
Yeah. Perfect.
And I just wanted to say one thing that, I have 1 package a day now. At the beginning, I had 3 capsules daily, but now I'm having 1 package a day, and I have not had flu, cold, bronchitis, anything in 20 years. Like, there's been maybe 5 times that it started, but then it was gone in a day, and everybody around me can be sick, and I'm never sick. The Quinery works really well. Yeah.
So Diana, while we're on that subject, what are the 5 systems that the Quinery nourishes?
Circulatory, respiratory, immune, endocrine, and digestive.
That's right. And part of the endocrine system is the reproductive system, Sherry. And when we think of our endocrine system, it's the system that produces all the chemicals in our body, that regulates the thickness of our blood and all that. So to think of, wow, you can actually eat a food every day that nourishes those 5 systems. There's no product like it that I've ever found that's even close to it on the market. And Dr. Chen, when he talks about Quinery, he wanted to have this food to give to people so they could live a long, good life. Because so many things in our world degenerate. We're talking about regenerating tonight, but there's a lot of things that degenerate our body. Stress and bad eating and whatnot. So it's one food, along with Nu Plus and Cali, Fortune Delight, Sun Care, that help. So I have a stack of other foods. I thought, we just might have time to talk about them tonight, but we are out of time. So that'll be another day. So we're already over time, but if anybody has any specific questions, we could take 5 minutes maybe and answer those.
Jim, will you send us the link for the recording of this?
Yes, I will. I wanted to say, I promised I was going to say a little bit about what's going on in Sunrider. A lot of us have been involved for 20, 30 years. And the 5 children joined their parents in the business about 3 years ago or so. And right now, Sunrider is going through a complete workover on all the systems, the marketing side. And we are just so excited because, like, Trudy likes to use this question, and I used it for years, is what area of your life would you like to improve the most? And out of time, income, and health, and freedom. And most people will choose freedom. They want to be free. So Sunrider as a business is done by word of mouth, because we don't really listen to advertising anymore. You get a stack of newspapers and flyers, and it goes right into the recycle. We don't listen to commercials. Anybody under 35 doesn't even have cable TV. They use Netflix, so they don't have to watch commercials. Big companies are really wondering, how can we reach our target market? And then there's companies like Sunrider that uses relational marketing. So it's people telling their story to other people about something that they've experienced, whether it's a restaurant, book, movie, whatever. Well, in Sunrider's case, we've got these great foods that are life-changing, and we have an opportunity that's life-changing. So once people start on Sunrider, they usually want to keep using them for life. And that creates such an amazing business opportunity. It's residual income that comes in every month. So it's a great opportunity. And the Chins realize that we're outdated. We need to update our business side of the company, marketing program included. And they'll be launching Sunrider as a new company basically come this late spring or summer. we're still waiting on the exact date. So just a lot of excitement. So anyways, sorry for being extra long on the call tonight. We said half an hour. And unless anybody has any questions, we will call it a night.
Okay.
Thank you, Jim, for organizing this.
You're welcome. Thanks for taking part.
Great.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
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 Bye.